Welcome to Sunday Sermons Online for the sixth Sunday of Easter, Cycle A. Today's sermon is entitled, Do Something. Jesus commands each of us, love one another as I have loved you. There is a story of a young clergyman who went to the pulpit and won the congregation's approval with his very first sermon. The following Sunday, the people returned with great anticipation, and to their surprise, he delivered the same sermon he had preached a week earlier. On the third and then the fourth Sunday, he did the same thing, much to the congregation's dismay. Finally, a committee convened and demanded an explanation for his strange behavior. "Is that the only sermon you have?" they asked. The young preacher replied, "No. I have several sermons ready, and I'm working on more. The problem is, you haven't done anything about the first one yet." A cartoon appeared in which mother and father are arguing over their son's budding musical career. "All right," the father says, "so he'll grow up to be a virtuoso tuba player. But can't he just take lessons? Does he have to practice in the living room?" Absurd as it may seem, this is what we're saying about our own lives. We talk about living a virtuoso Christian life, but we want to avoid practicing it. We're trying to meet with Christ, but we haven't done anything about it. We want to talk our way into his company, but it can't be done. "He who obeys the commandments he has received from me is the man who loves me," Jesus says. The person who loves Jesus is a person who relates to others in the spirit of compassion, understanding, concern, and loving service. Do it now in your very next encounter with a brother or sister in need. Today's gospel lesson consists of a few verses from Jesus' final discourse to the apostles shortly before his execution. "If you ask anything in my name, I will do it," he promises. Then the condition: "If you love me, you will keep my commandments. Anybody who receives my commandments and keeps them will be the one who loves me." Then, just a few hours later on the cross, he bows his head and whispers, "It is finished." In so doing, Jesus demonstrates the ultimate act of love. He has given himself totally, completely, and unconditionally to the world. And now he commands each of us, love one another as I have loved you. We demonstrate our love for Jesus to the extent that we give ourselves to others. The Russian writer Leo Tolstoy is regarded as one of the greatest authors of all time. Among his works is a beautiful story entitled, "Where Love Is, God Is." It is the story of an old shoemaker who hears a voice in his dreams one night. The voice tells him that the Lord Jesus will visit him the next day. The next morning, he begins his work in a spirit of high expectation as he eagerly awaits the coming of the Lord. But the only visitors who he has seen that day are people in distress. First, there is an emaciated old man with a terrible cough. The cobbler takes him in, warms him by the fire, and gives him food. Next comes a half-frozen woman carrying her hungry baby in her arms. She needs food and clothing, and the old cobbler obliges. Then a woman pulling a fruit cart comes. She is upset because a boy has tried to steal her apples. The cobbler knows the boy, and he can bring the two together and reconcile them. This day has not turned out as he expected, but the cobbler still remembers the promise of the Lord's visit. Tired now, he falls asleep in his chair and hears the same voice from the previous night saying, "I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was sick and you ministered to me." We are told that George Bolt, a hotel baron, made an unusual gift to his wife. He purchased one of the 1,000 islands in the St. Lawrence River and had it carved into the shape of a heart. Napoleon is said to have given Josephine a tiara set with 880 diamonds. King Nebuchadnezzar built the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, one of the ancient world's 7 wonders, and presented it to his bride, who was lonely for her former home. Perhaps none of us will ever have the means to lavish such extravagant gifts on someone we love. Yet, more extraordinary gifts than these are within the reach of every woman and man. This very day, you can give the greatest gift one can give to another, and that is the gift of yourself. God's gift of love, in and through the Lord Jesus Christ, though priceless, is not costless. Like all love, God's love makes demands on us. And one of his heaviest demands, his constant demand, is the plea every lover sends to a beloved. Don't forget me. When you leave this church, you will return to a fascinating world, a glorious place that was freed from slavery by the crucifixion of its God, a paradoxical planet that harbors hate and love, despair and hope, skepticism and faith, tears and smiles, an imperfect little earth where men and women kill one another and die for one another, both. It is here that you must live your love and share your love, especially when so many experience far more of Christ's crucifixion than of his resurrection. It can be a transforming adventure in human love if you never forget that divine love begets endless love. Love one another as I have loved you. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus gives us a magnificent picture of a fulfilled life. But he also tells us, repeatedly, that it does no good to hear this and then forget it. It does no good if it evokes from you only good intentions. So stop making excuses for yourself. Stop making excuses and do it. Get on with it. Live it. That is what Jesus is saying to us. Today, I would like to leave you with a suggestion. Every one of us knows of at least one good intention that we have. So let's do it. Don't return next week having done nothing about it. Forget all the excuses. Get off the road of good intentions and do something. That concludes our sermon for the 6th Sunday of Easter, Cycle A.